Imagine someone you care for keeps asking, "Where's my husband?" You tell her the truth. He died years ago. And she looks at you like you just punched her. Now here's a question. Are you being honest or being cruel by accident? Hello and welcome back to the Able to Care podcast. I'm your host, Andy Baker, and today is dementia focused. But the principle is universal. Don't confuse your reality with somebody else's nervous system. So we're going to kind of look at this through the lens of a scenario again. We've got Margaret. Margaret in later life and living with dementia. She values politeness, independence and dignity. But when she's anxious, she'll walk the corridors asking for her husband Teddy, asking for the children, and snaps at any noise in the environment. Now, sometimes she remembers he's passed away, and sometimes she doesn't. When staff remind her bluntly, it can cause significant distress. Now, I made a LinkedIn post about this the other day, and there were some comments on there going, surely every carer knows this, that the reorientation or direct reorientation has been out for long gone. But this is the thing, it isn't. Because whether it be a family that it's a brand new experience for, or whether it be a new carer into the industry, or statistically, the lack of dementia training that is put out into the health and social care industries for those who are looking after those living with dementia, who've never done any training or have any knowledge apart from direct experience with those living with dementia. I'm afraid people are still doing it. And again, it's not often because they're feeling they want to be cruel. It doesn't come from malice. One of my favorite quotes, I'm sure that those of you who've been listening for a while may know, is that never attribute to malice what can be attributed to incompetence or ignorance. That's exactly that. Now, we often assume that telling the truth is always kind, that telling the truth is the right thing to do. Many of us value honesty above many other values or human traits, but we forget how contextual it is. Like the family who are housing Anne Frank, I think most of us would go that not telling the truth was a positive thing in that circumstance. They shouldn't have just gone, yeah, she's upstairs. So sometimes dishonesty is actually positive. It's a good thing. So we have to be kind of mindful. Now, I'm not suggesting we should lie, but if we correct them, sometimes people think they'll settle. They'll remember their partner's dead. But the impact matters more than the intent. A correction can land like a fresh bereavement, but again and again and again. Now, we should always consider, obviously, an individual's capacity and advanced plans or wishes and things like that when we're making a decision on this particular thing. But sometimes it isn't a case of either we tell the truth or we lie. Sometimes, just like we all do sometimes, we just avoid the truth, which you could class as lying. Not telling somebody something is the same as lying. All depends on how you define it. I always like the principle of what we call therapeutic untruths. It all depends on when we're looking at capacity, we're looking at best interests. How does this person respond as far as if we sort of remind them, okay, I'm afraid Teddy's gone, if they kind of go, oh, yeah, I remember, I forgot, and they're okay, then maybe that's in their best interest. However, they seem devastated, but then 10 minutes later, they're asking again and seem devastated again when we tell them, and all we're doing is causing them hurt and pain, then we need to reassess whether we're actually doing this in their best interests. Now, the big thing is we work on an awful lot, and most people out there maybe know this term, connection before correction. We empathize rather than redirect. So we maybe need to start with a connection, recognize how Margaret may be feeling, rather than trying to correct and rather than trying to give her an answer, because that's so instinctive that we humans, we want to solve the problem. You've got a problem. Let me give you the reality of the situation. Let me give you the facts. Let me tell you how you can overcome this or to get over it. But instead we notice on maybe how Margaret's feeling. She seems anxious. She seems distressed. So we can start building a connection with that. Hey, Margaret, you look worried. I'm here. How can I help? Then redirects meaning if she's asking about Teddy, tell me about Teddy. You're not trying to trick her. You're meeting the emotion and trying to help her nervous system settle. At the moment, her alarm bell, her amygdala is in a heightened state of arousal. She's in a distress. She's in a panic. She doesn't know where she is, or she's worried about her husband. The way to help that isn't by pointing out facts, because facts are appealing to completely the wrong part of the brain. We need to help to turn the alarm bar, making her feel safe, trying to figure out what is the need that's missing right now. What is Teddy representing? Is it actually a husband, or is she feeling lonely? Is she feeling scared? Is she feeling nervous? Is she feeling ill? And all of those are maybe things that we can help with. But if we're not really listening to what she's saying and we're too busy focusing on the facts, that's when we're going to miss that opportunity for connection. When we're looking at just that principle of distress, if Margaret is overwhelmed and seems to be distressed and is moving around, one of the things we try and focus on is prevention. Reducing triggers that you actually can control. We can't control her husband being there or not. But an awful lot of dementia distress actually improves when we focus preventatively, when we focus on the environment and on routine, when we look at reducing noise and things that could trigger anxiety within the environment, when we approach calmly and we're going in to help her, we introduce ourselves, we don't assume familiarity, we recognize that we may be a stranger, but we're a stranger coming over to make sure she's okay, not to harm. Or we keep steps simple. Maybe we offer small choices. We create predictable routines, and we keep familiar anchors, things that help them to feel comfortable and safe. Now, none of that is fancy. It's just designed compassion, creating an environment that focuses on the individual, the person-centeredness, and also the way that we engage and we interact. It may be you seem so upset. Tell you what, why don't we come in here and I'll sit and wait with you for a little while if you like. Just that connection may be enough to help overcome some of the distress. Or maybe it's a case of we need to go for a walk. Let's burn off. Let's get out of this space a little bit. Let's change the environment to help them, help the individual settle. Now, we can use this same principle in lots of different ways in lots of different environments. So we're kind of focusing on that kind of dementia aspect. But again, the same principle, that connection before correction, is so important. So in schools, connection tends to escalate. A dysregulated child can't reason their way back to a situation. In parenting, I told you already might be true, but it's unhelpful. They may need emotional orientation, not factual orientation. There's a great example I was speaking to of a girl who struggled with her learning. And so often, teachers would come over and help her, absolutely, then make a comment going, now you could have done it yourself if you'd been listening. Why was the little jab required? That immediately shut her down from ever asking again, because she told me honestly, I try to listen, but as soon as I stop understanding part of it, my brain just shuts off. I don't choose it to. I just can't. It's just like she said it's almost like the parent in the old Snoopy cartoons, or the teacher in the Snoopy cartoon. So that's all that's going in. So I'm trying to listen, but I do not understand. So that comment makes me feel bad, makes me feel like I'm stupid, makes me feel like I'm thick. Horrible. So I told you already, or if you would have known that you've been listening, or you need to learn to concentrate, not necessary comment. In foster care, trauma can create time travel. A child reacts to now as if it is then. If you raise your voice just to shout them down for tea, if they've come from an environment where shouting meant danger, that may trigger an emotional response, and it didn't kick off for no reason. Your job is to help them come back, not to win the argument. In adult care, some people in distress hold beliefs that aren't factually accurate. Confronting it head on can trigger threat response rather than recovery. Always a case of join the person in their emotions, empathize, acceptance. We can accept the thoughts and feelings even if we need to reorientate to reality at some point. Now, the takeaway from this, connection isn't a nice extra. It's often the intervention that a person needs. If you want your team to respond to distress behaviors in a consistent, structured way, we've got two calls for the able trading. The able target system gives you that shared map of responding to distress behaviors or managing behaviors that challenge. And if you want deeper tools for the human side of care, particularly around supporting those living with dementia, we've got the adaptive caregiver model, which creates a strategy of different roles that a carer may need to be to allow the person to meet their full potential as well as have the best quality of life. And it helps you shift your approach without turning it into a power struggle. Otherwise, if you found this information useful, like, comment, share. Have you ever encountered an adult or child's behaviour that has felt difficult, overwhelming, or challenging? Have you sometimes felt at a loss of what to do, or know that you didn't handle it quite right? People are complex and unpredictable, and their behaviour can be like the weather. We've all made the mistake of looking out the window and feeling safe to wear shorts, but 5 minutes later wishing for an umbrella. But what if, like a weatherman, you understood how humidity, temperature and pressure all come together to cause the weather, allowing you to better prepare, predict and respond and prevent ever having a picnic ruined by a thunderstorm ever again? My book, called Targeting the Positive with Behaviours that Challenge, helps you to become the weatherman of behaviour. It provides you with a toolkit to increase competency, confidence, resilience and empathy, so you feel more assured about how to respond to distressed or dysregulated behaviours in others, including those affected by trauma, mental health, neurodiversity, learning disabilities or dementia. Build better connections, achieve de-escalation and improve outcomes for yourself and those you engage with my celebrated 6-stage target model, a step-by-step process to reduce distress for everyone. Discover my empowering, person-centered guide in Targeting the Positive, written by me, Andy Baker, available from online bookstores worldwide. Find a link in the description and order today.